Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishabhai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the divine being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the divine being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace. Peace be unto us and to all joyous and suffering beings everywhere. Well, welcome everyone this morning to our Sunday morning open forum. I hope all of you have come with your thoughts of Bhakti Yoga, what Bhakti is to you. And those of you who've printed out the study guide, good for you, because that's what we're going to use. And for those of you who haven't, please just listen to it being read. I don't see Liam, who I was going to ask to read this. So since he's not here, Catherine, did you print out the study guide?
Yes, I did.
Could you be so kind as to read it for us then?
Sure.
Read it from top to bottom, and then we'll go back to the top and discuss each of the entries.
Also, I just put the link to the PDF in the chat. If anyone wants to just click on that, they can read along with it if they don't already have one.
Thank you, Cindy.
Click on chat and you'll see it.
So if you didn't print it out or you don't have it and you would like to have it, Cindy just said it's in chat. So click on chat and there's a link to the study guide so that you can either just open it and read along, or you could actually print it out. Okay, Catherine, if you would be so kind as to read.
Although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, there is still one good quality about this age. Simply by chanting the names of God, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. Srimad Bhagavatam 12:351. Chant the name of the Lord and his glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quenched that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, raging furiously within. Opening of Chaitanya's prayer, translated by Swami Prabhavananda and Christopher Isherwood. The Bhaktas accept all the states of consciousness. They take the waking state to be real also. They don't think the world to be illusory like a dream. They say that the universe is a manifestation of God's power and glory. God has created all these: sky, stars, moon, sun, mountains, ocean, men, animals. They constitute his glory. He is within us in our hearts. Again, he is outside. The most advanced devotees say that he himself has become all this: the 24 cosmic principles, the universe, and all living things. The devotee of God wants to eat sugar, not to become sugar. All laugh. Do you know how a lover of God feels? His attitude is, "O God, thou art the master and I am thy servant. Thou art the mother and I am thy child." Or again, "Thou art my father and mother. Thou art the whole and I am a part." He doesn't like to say, "I am Brahman."
Slow down just a little bit, Catherine, if you would be so kind.
Sure, I'll try.
Just don't read quite so quickly.
Okay. Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, chapter 5, page 138. from the highest God to the worm and beyond, to the atoms and the stars, everywhere the same God loves all. Friend, lay your mind, soul, and body at their feet. He is in front of you right now in the different forms he's taken. If you turn away from them, where will you find him? The first to love all beings without thinking worships God. Swami Vivekananda from his complete works, Letter to a Friend. A Bhakti Yoga, Bhakta, has a devotional relationship with God. This is developed over time by study, prayer, ritual, and worship. As a Bhakta, you practice giving every action, thought, emotion, perception, and tendency a Godward turn. Everything you are, both positive and negative, is offered to the Divine Presence. Your prayer is for the carefree self-surrender of a child in its mother or father's arm, and ultimately union with your beloved, Brother Shankara.
Thank you, Catherine. That was a very good reading.
You're welcome. Thank you. Jai Ma.
Jai Ma indeed. Okay. So although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, there is still one good quality about this age. Simply by chanting the name of God, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. Bhagirat, can you unmute yourself and tell us when the Srimad Bhagavatam was written, when it was put down, these thoughts? Do you have that information? Apparently he's not hearing me. I don't understand. Anyway.
He's an unmute position, Brother Shankara. He's not in the mute.
Bhagirat, are you there? Can you hear me? Apparently not.
No, he's not unmuted. Dr. Majmudar, you need to unmute yourself.
Well, I don't think he hears me. I don't think he's hearing us. So my understanding is that this paragraph, which comes at the end of 15 predictions about the Kali Yuga, the nature of the Kali Yuga, this comes at the end of 15 predictions. And it was written sometime between 2,500 and 5,000 years ago. So I'm going to, before we discuss it, I'd like to read and discuss it together with something that was written in about the end of the 15th century, the 1400s, or the early 16th century, the 1500s, and that is this opening of Chaitanya's prayer, which is clearly an echo of what is said here in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Chant the name of the Lord and his glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quenched that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, raging furiously within. So those two things together, this prophecy that from 2,500 to 5,000 years ago, that at the end of the Kali Yuga, we would be free simply by chanting the name of God. One can become free from material bondage and promoted to the transcendental realm, transcendental kingdom. And then Chaitanya's assertion that by chanting the name of the Lord and his glory unceasingly, that is, every day, all the time, as much as possible. The mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust raging furiously within. So those are two of the major impediments to they are the major impediments. Worldly lust in all of its forms, and the fact that the mirror of the heart is clouded by our ignorance, our inborn ignorance, born of Maya. So let's discuss those two things. What do you think about what is said here? What effect does this have on you? Anyone like to pipe up? This is where we do this together. Share yourself with us.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
Yes, I think by chanting the name of the Lord unceasingly, it kind of purifies the mind. And a pure mind is one of the stepping stones, pure mind leads to.
Yes.
Yes, pure heart,
Pure heart and pure mind, Sri Ramakrishna said they're one and the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Pure mind, pure heart, pure consciousness, all the same. Anyone else? Thank you, Neera.
Brother Shankara, in one of the classes last year, I heard either you or one of the gurus saying it. Mantra unfolds divinity within us, and it's also a fertilizer to our soul. And so I was going back to my notes about Bhakti Yoga last night and this morning, and I found these touching things, which is very true.
Would you repeat that, please, Haima, what it is that was said?
Mantra unfolds divinity within us, and it's also a sound wave, and it is a fertilizer to our soul.
Yes, the first part of that, at least, is a paraphrase of Swami Vivekananda.
Yes, you mentioned it in one of our classes in the past. I went back to my notes of Bhakti Yoga. So I was reading all those, and I found those were very true, very true.
Yes, the mantra does unfold. It does reveal and unfold
the
divinity that is innate within us.
Yes.
The potential divinity becomes manifest divinity within us.
And it's
Anything
also
else?
fertilizer.
Fertilizer, yes. That's
it's a sound wave, and it's a fertilizer to our soul.
Yes, it's a sound wave, and
I wanted to add, if I could.
Yes, please, Marla.
Just from my own personal, limited experience with mantra, I do really feel that the releasing, not from just material bondage, but from our own emotional past bondage, that by chanting, it releases so many emotional things that it helps loosen the grip of all of those things on us.
Yes, that's part of what I think Chaitanya means by quenching that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, because these emotional things are what bind us to our worldliness. Of course, he puts it dramatically. Chaitanya was dramatic. He was a dramatic personality. His life from the time of his conversion, if you study his life, is remarkable and just absolutely dramatic. So it's very appropriate that he says, quenched that mighty forest fire, worldly lust. Thank you, Marla. That's exactly right. It does release us from our attachment to those emotional shackles.
This is Laya.
Yes, hello, Swayam. You need to be closer to the microphone. We can barely hear you.
Oh, okay, can you hear me now?
Not really. Marla, we could hear clearly. Somehow or another, you sound like you're in an echo chamber.
Oh, because I'm as close to my computer mic as possible. If you cannot hear, then I will just mute myself.
I don't know what the problem is,
Okay,
but
so
please do say what you want to say anyway. We'll do our best.
I was going to say that besides the inherent power of the mantra, when you're doing the mantra, the mind is, if you focus it on the mantra, it's less likely to dwell on the lower unnecessary thoughts, by then slowly you can, I don't know the right word for it, but get those thoughts more underground, if you will.
Yes, when we're chanting, you're absolutely right. When we're chanting the mantra, we are pulling ourselves away from unnecessary and unwelcome thoughts. And the corollary to that is that as we're chanting the mantra, we see which of our thoughts are repetitive, we could say even obsessive thoughts, try to interrupt us. This is what Marla was pointing to. These emotional and deep-seated things that are in us as we attempt to focus on the mantra, these things, which are the winds of the gunas brushing against our samskaras, our mental impressions, they give rise to these thoughts. And over time, we see the pattern. We see a pattern. We come to know the contents of our waking consciousness. And this is very powerful because when we see something and we see its inappropriateness, it becomes easy for us to turn our thoughts away from it, to turn our attention, our awareness away from it, and return it to the mantra, which, as Haima pointed out, is a fertilizer. The mantra itself is nurturing our innate spiritual divinity, its unfoldment. So thank you, Swayam. Anything else from anyone?
Can you hear me now, Brother Shankar?
Yes, Bhagirath. Yes, so glad we can hear you now.
I was thinking the word mantra has to be translated in both its forms.
Mm-hmm.
The way we understand, mantra is a spoken, reiterated word.
Mm-hmm.
But mantra also means consultation. This is the reason why a consultant in Sanskrit is called mantri.
Mm-hmm.
He is the one you refer to. He is the one you check with. He is the one who guides you. And therefore, a mere mantra as a spoken word which comes only from the laryngeal box might feel very lonely because it might not be accompanied with its deeper impact which we have to carry with it.
Thank you. Yes. Mantri, the one with whom we consult about the spiritual development.
Yes.
Earlier I asked you, because I thought you might know.
No, but I did not have that information.
About when the Srimad Bhagavatam was written? Okay.
No, but you see, the dates, whenever you hear about the dates, they are not authentic historical dates. They are guessworks in many ways. Because the way I understood that Bhagavatam followed Mahabharata, which is about 3,000 years old.
Okay.
And at the end of the Mahabharata, when Parikshita was destined to die in 10 days, he wanted to know the meaning of life and death before he actually encounters death. This is the reason why Shukadeva, the child prodigy, came to tell him and explain what is the meaning of death. And at the end of the 10 days, Parikshit says, now I'm ready to die.
Uh-huh.
These texts explained by Shuka to Parikshita is called Bhagavatam. This is the reason why after death, all kinds of deaths in India, there is a 7-day session on Bhagavatam.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, it should be approximately 3,000 years.
Uh-huh.
Approximately.
Okay, well, very good. Yeah, I know there's been quite a bit of archaeological effort to establish correlations between what is said in these scriptures, this smriti, and which means something remembered. There are two kinds of scriptures within Sanatana Dharma. One is Shruti, the Vedas, that which was heard, and then Smriti, that which is remembered. And everything but the Vedas and the Upanishads are regarded as that which is remembered. So Bhagavatam is part of that, as is the Mahabharata, and of course part of that is Bhagavad Gita. So there's been some serious archaeological effort by Indian archaeologists to establish these correlations. And there's some, one of the findings that I've read about is very much correlates with what Bhagarat just said, that this Bhagavatam is between 2,500 and 3,000 years old. So thank you, Bhagarat. Thank you for that. And then, yes,
Shankara, unmute.
yes, Uma,
Oh, can you hear?
I can hear you.
Sitting behind the my computer is not working, so I'm using his computer.
Well, please, yes. It's very appropriate that you two should sit together.
I'm standing and reading one of the Bhakti poems from Gandhiji's ashram Bhajanavali. It's a Gujarati Bhakti poem.
Uh-huh.
And it exactly, I think, represents what we mean by chanting mantra.
Mm-hmm.
What it does, it says in my language, Naina Nirakho Unde Ure. Turn your eyes inward. So when you chant a mantra, automatically our eyes close. We go deep into ourselves and visualize God, which he says, Jara ugade ankhaladire. Oh, my eyes, you are lazy. You all, look outside. But if you look deep inside, he is or she is always present. Swami Shankara Sarikare, God is like ocean, is always, always inside you, and you need to focus. Then it says, God is like wind, is always blowing inside of you. So all you need is to concentrate and focus. Naina, eyes, Nirakho, look, Nderure, deep, deep inside. And if you look inside, there is nothing but deep treasure, deep ocean of love of God. And
Yes.
that's a beautiful poem. I cannot translate it.
Yes, yes, it is beautiful what you've said. And that's exactly what the great teachers, be it Sri Ramakrishna or Gandhiji or
Yeah.
or Jesus Christ. They say, seek ye first the kingdom of God within,
Yeah.
and all else shall be added unto you. And Sri Ramakrishna said, dive deep
In the ocean
and
of
find in the ocean of love and find the gem of love.
gem of love. Yes.
Yes.
And that's beautiful.
And the
Poet.
gem of love is what unlocks those that what Marla spoke about earlier. It unlocks those emotional bonds, those knots of the heart, KNOTS, knots of the heart, as they're called. And so,
And Brother Shankara, if
yes.
you remember, John Slang sang that song so devotionally. You know, what was it? Luke, what is that? Dive deep, O mind,
Mm-hmm.
dive deep in the ocean of God's beauty.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And if you look, and what is that? And if you dive deep, you will discover the gem of love.
Yes. If any of you want to hear some of John Schlink's songs, probably including that one, you can go to johnschlinkmusic.com. John, SCHLENCK, johnschlinkmusic.com.
Yeah.
And you will find recordings of those songs and some discussion by John, some stuff that he wrote, some material that he wrote. So that's one of the things I think that I'm pretty sure that song is there.
Brother, what was the spelling on that again, please?
SCHLENCK, John Schlink, SCHLENCK, music, all one string of letters, johnschlinkmusic.com. And you will find his very beautiful music and some things he's written about his spiritual journey and about the music.
That I just put the link to his website in the chat.
There it is, right there. Okay, very good. All right, thank you, Cindy. Yeah, John put that website under Cindy's care. So anything else about what's said in the Srimad Bhagavatam or about Chaitanya?
Brother Shankara,
Yes, please.
this is Sada.
Yes, Sada. Good to see you.
Yeah. I like to add a short comment or add to Dr. Mazumdar is told about Bhagavatam. 3,000 years, they didn't have anything to write on. Even 200 years, even few hundred years back, they were writing on leaves or stones and things like that. So everything, as you said, it's either remembered or, in spoken from one generation to the other, transferred.
Yes, this was the responsibility of the Brahmin class.
Yes.
To keep these things in memory. And it's remarkable, again, the anthropologists and archaeologists who studied this, they have gathered the papyruses, those folded books in which these things were finally written down.
Yeah,
and they gathered them from all over India.
yes.
And and compared them. And it's remarkable how accurately they were remembered. There might be a word changed here and there, but the meaning and 99.99% of the words were accurately remembered and copied down in these folded books that they gathered from all over India. So it's the job of the Brahmins was done very, very well indeed for centuries. How long, I don't know exactly. But let's return to the study guide. Chant the name of the Lord and his glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean, and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, raging furiously within. Now, this is a tremendous pair of promises by Sri Chaitanya about what will happen if you chant the name of the Lord and his glory devotedly, determinedly, one could say daily, unceasingly. So this is the opening of his poem. This is his first assertion, his first suggestion and invitation and promise. Holy Mother, in commenting on this, said that he was absolutely correct. You can find the commentary on this in a talk that you can find in our archives called Chaitanya's Prayer, a Perfect Primer. The comments of Holy Mother, Swami Vivekananda, Sri Ramakrishna, and others were gathered and commented about what happens when you actually repeat the mantra, when you chant the name of the Lord. And Mother said, it will make your heart as pure as a star. So this is, and she said that in that purity, destiny herself will strike from the book of record what is written there about you. So in other words, it changes your karma. It actually changes and makes milder your karma. Anybody else that would like to comment before we move on to the next?
Yes, Brother Shankara.
Yes, Aaron.
I've read that if you chant enough, apparently it absolves you of all of your karma.
Yes, this it absolves you. This is what she means by makes your heart as pure as a star. Uma, we're hearing you in your conversation there. So could you mute yourselves there, the Majmadars? So Aaron, yes. But what was said by Holy Mother when a devotee asked her, you mean it wipes it out completely? And she said, no, not exactly that. She said, if you were to receive a terrible sword blow, you will not receive that blow. You no longer need that blow, and it's lessened to become more spiritually mature. But you will receive a pinprick. So yes, it absolves you of your karma and thereby makes life much, much more enjoyable. This is what Krishna is pointing to when he says yoga is the breaking of contact with pain.
Yes, I find that chanting just makes me a much more grateful person, and I think that's my understanding of why the what would be a sword blow doesn't come, because of the gratitude chanting brings you from just being alive.
Well, the gratitude is a product of our own hearts and minds. The gratitude, of course, we'll talk about this next week when we talk about Baal Shem Tov and the practice of love. But the gratitude, it's not like it's not like there's a calculation, a trade-off. It isn't like you're paying off your karma. That's not it. That's not it at all. What Hafiz says in one of his poems is, in the presence of love, we'll notice that the scales don't work. When the scales are held by love, we notice that they don't work. So the ledger of good, bad, karma, dark karma, bright karma, it simply isn't operational. It's not because you've paid off your karma. No, that's not it. It's that you have unfolded the innate spiritual maturity so that you no longer need the lessons of your karma. That's why Sri Krishna says, turn to me in utter devotion. I see no sinner. In other words, your sins are no longer even a matter of concern to me. And then he says, holiness itself shall transform you. So it isn't that we pay off our karma. No. It's that we change. And in doing with that devotional attitude, we, as Swami Vivekananda said, religion is nothing more than the manifestation of the divinity already within. And when that divinity is manifest, when you become, as Sri Ramakrishna said, spiritually mature, you don't need the lessons of your karma. So holiness itself shall transform you. So yes, we feel gratitude. We feel gratitude for being able to participate in this way. That's yes. But the gratitude is not a payment against our karma. It's just a spontaneous manifestation of our joy and our happiness at who we are becoming.
Can I add something about the sword versus the pinprick idea?
Please, Marla.
My husband practices a martial arts called Hapkido, and his master loves to give a demonstration about how if you have a dry, hard stick and you hit it with a sword, it's going to crack and crumble quite easily. But if you have a green, soft, living branch, you can hit it all you want, and it's not, it doesn't break. And so that's the way I think of it, that mantra is like removing all that dry husk of
Very
all the life
nice.
taken on, and now we are the green, soft, loving twig that is not
beautiful.
firm by the same amount of force.
Beautiful. Thank you, Marla. That's very appropriate. Okay, let's go on to the next one. This is Sri Ramakrishna from chapter 5 of the Gospel. And he's explaining to Keshab Sen and the devotees of the Brahmo Samaj. For those of you who don't know what that is, you can look in the Gospel what the Brahmo Samaj is. It was a spiritual tradition started as a reform movement in Bengal, particularly in Calcutta, in the late 19th century. And so Sri Ramakrishna was invited by Keshab Sen to take a steamer trip on the Ganges and speak to some of his devotees. Of course, M was with them, M being the recorder of those things, those diary entries that became the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. And here's what Sri Ramakrishna had to say about the path of bhakti. The bhaktas accept all the states of consciousness, waking, dreaming, and dreamless sleep, and turiya, the fourth state of consciousness. They accept all those states. The bhaktas accept all the states of consciousness. They take the waking state to be real also. They don't think the world to be illusory like a dream, which is, by contrast, what he said is the attitude of the Advaitins, the Jnanis. So the bhaktas don't think the world to be illusory like a dream. They say that the universe is a manifestation of God's power and glory. God has created all these: sky, stars, moon, sun, mountains, ocean, men, animals. So again, Sri Ramakrishna tries to give a comprehensive list, leaving nothing out. They constitute his glory. He is within us, in our hearts. This is what was pointed out by Uma earlier. We dive deep through the practice of a mantra and other ways, dive deep into our heart, we find the Lord. But then, just like Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within you and without you, but you see it not. So Sri Ramakrishna says, his glory, they constitute his glory. He is within us, in our hearts. Again, he is outside. The most advanced devotees say that he himself has become all this. The 24 cosmic principles, these are the 24 cosmic principles of Sankhya. If you want to know in a short summary of them, look in the back of Swami Prabhavananda's translation of the Gita. There is a short summary of Sankhya called The Cosmology of the Gita. So if you want to know what are the 24 cosmic principles and how they constitute the manifest reality we experience, it's explained there. He himself has become all this, the 24 cosmic principles, the universe, and all living beings. The devotee of God wants to eat sugar, not become sugar. And of course, the devotees understood his meaning. That is to say, they want to enjoy the presence of God in all his manifestation. They want to enjoy and be with the divine in that sense, not to become that. What does it mean by become that? It is said that the Nor of Brahman becomes Brahman. He becomes the sugar. But all experience of the world, of the universe and its manifestations, all of that is extinguished. Again, if you want to understand what is meant by that, read the last pages, the last few pages of Swami Vivekananda's Raja Yoga. He explains what it means to become sugar and therefore be extinguished. He explains it in a different context, but you'll see the correlation. Going on with Sri Ramakrishna. Do you know how a lover of God feels? His attitude is, "O God, thou art the master, and I am thy servant. Thou art the mother, and I am thy child." Or again, "Thou art my mother and father, thou art the whole, and I am a part." He, the bhakta, he doesn't like to say, "I am Brahman." So that's from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, chapter 5. It starts on page 132. This is from page 138. So what does that give rise to you when in reading this wonderful couple of paragraphs from Sri Ramakrishna? What comes to your mind? What are your feelings or thoughts? Is this how you feel? Do you feel like a bhakta? I do, for example. This is very much represents how I feel.
Brother
Anyone?
Shankara, it gave me comfort to read those 2 paragraphs because that is how I feel also.
Good, dear. Why did it comfort you? What was it that was comforting?
The relationship with God, to be able to have that is what is comforting to me.
Yes, exactly. And how does that relationship show up for you, Catherine? If you care to discuss it.
That's hard for me to explain how it shows up, but I feel it in my heart, that relationship, and there's a longing there. There's
Let
a
me
feeling.
just interrupt you to say this quickly before you go on.
Yeah.
For those of you who want to know how Catherine feels about this, go to AmericanVedantist.org. Cindy may put that link up in the chat also. AmericanVedantist.org. Look at the American Vedantist magazine, e-zine, magazine that was just published, number 77. And there are some things by Catherine. One called The Yearning, and then there are a couple of poems when you open the poems section. But she explains very well as a poet how this relationship is manifesting and making her feel. So I'll just relieve you of any further trying to explain.
Thank you.
Now, Catherine, by
I
saying
appreciate
that you've done such a beautiful job of expressing it, that those expressions were published in American Vedantist number 77. And I strongly recommend that you visit AmericanVedantist.org and take a look at the things that were published there, because they were gathered together and published specifically, as the introduction points out, to give us some spiritual uplift, something calming and resourceful for us during this dreadful time of transformation that we're experiencing. And I mean it. Catherine wrote some beautiful things that express her relationship as a bhakta with the divine.
Thank you,
Thank
Brother
you, Catherine.
Shankara. I was thinking of those as you were asking me that, so I really appreciate you mentioning that and relieving me from that. Thank you.
For having to say it over again. You've already said it.
Yes.
And there it is for all to read if they want to take the trouble. Anyone else?
Yes.
What is it?
That's why poets and songwriters and writers and artists do their art, because it is so hard to explain. And yeah, I love Catherine's poems in AV 77. I put the link to the website and the link directly to the poems page.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
But just also wanted to say that for me, the relationship with the divine is everything. I mean, it absolutely is everything. There's nothing else, because everything comes out of that. Everything good in my life, my world, the world that I'm aware of comes from there. If I don't have that, I don't have anything.
Yes. He himself has become all this, the 24 cosmic principles, the universe, and all living beings. The devotee of God wants to eat sugar, not become sugar. And this is why the Bhakta path is the Bhakta's path is such a life-sustaining path. It isn't that the other paths are not, but the Bhakta's path has more inherent joy, and it is more difficult for particularly the Raja Yogi and the Jnana Yogi in this time, in this era. That's why I started with that quote from the Srimad Bhagavatam. This was written some thousands of years ago. How many, we don't know exactly, but it was written that this is a special feature of this time, that by chanting the name of the Lord, just that, you may be promoted. I just love that word, promoted to the transcendental kingdom. And it's interesting to me that they use the same word that Christ uses, the kingdom. Christ, of course, was speaking about 2,000 years ago also. That it's mentioned in the Devi Mahatmam, the Chandi, as the higher worlds or the higher realms. So, yes, good. Anything else about this?
Brother Shankar,
Yes, dear.
what I was thinking, that basically when we say God has created all this universe, stars, moon, sun, etc., etc., classically in Sanskrit we call it Panchatattva, 5 elements of the universe. Not only this planet, the entire universe.
Uh-huh.
And those 5 elements are water, fire, wind, the ethereal space, and we are made, each one of us is made up primarily out of those 5 elements. Those are the brickwork of the entire universe. So we have no choice but to have those 5 elements inside us also.
Yes.
Otherwise we cannot exist. We exist because those 5 elements are there. And that, when you say, this is the reason why when there is a cremation in India, we don't say he died. He became a part of the Panchatattva. He had those 5 elements in him and he has gone back to the 5 elements.
Yes.
So the differentiation between the outer and inner, universes and us, body and outside body, they're all very fictitious. They are very illusioning, because basically it is the same element. This is what the Greeks said, as within, so without. Which in Sanskrit they say, yatha pinde, tatha brahmande. Whatever is inside the body is also in the universe.
Yes,
so
we're made.
These are very unifying concept.
We're made of the products of the universe.
We are made of the product. That's why I understand the last part that he says, that he doesn't like to say, I am Brahman, because Brahman is already in me.
Yes. Yes, and the bhakta doesn't want to turn in that direction. And what you said just now, as I said to you, not just to you, but to all of us earlier, was if you wanted a more detailed explanation of this, a very concise and beautiful summary of just what Bhagirath was talking about, these 5 elements and how they are both inside and outside, how they are subtle as well as gross. Go to that, you can find it very easily, Swami Prabhavananda's Bhagavad Gita and something that he wrote at the back. It's one of the appendices. It's called The Cosmology of the Gita. And it explains the frame of reference from which Krishna is speaking, which is exactly what Bhagirath was talking about. Thank you, Bhagirath. That's perfect.
But then the other aspect of that one, it will be so naive, if not foolish, to say that this is my body. It just does not make sense.
No. No.
And if it is not my body, then this is not your body either, because all of us are embodied in the same principles.
Yes. Nothing in that sense is mine. This is why Swami Sridharananda says, if you pursue spiritual work, you pursue your spiritual practices, you automatically change from the attitude of I, me, mine to thou, thee, thine.
Yes.
Automatically you change from this because it unfolds from within. It unfurls. There's some beautiful poems in that Love Poems from God, in which the poets, it's interesting, across the traditions, 2 or 3 of the poets use the same word, unfurl. There's something about this that actually seems to be like a flag unfurling, or like a new reality being wrapped up and unfurling. I love that word. So we have some few minutes left. This has been a wonderful discussion, by the way. Thank you, everyone who's participated. Thank you, Cindy, for posting those links in the chat so that people can go immediately to them and find them.
Brother, can I say something? Can I
Please
ask?
do.
There are like 2 questions here. So when we are talking about bhakti,
Yes.
is it basically we can this is how I am trying to process it, like we can approach it in 2 ways. One is that we identify obviously that God is within every one of us. Our soul, our conscience is God.
Mm-hmm.
So now looking at it on an outward sense, from inward to outward, can we say that that means the entire world belongs to each one of us? Entire universe belongs to each one of us?
Not in the sense of the personality.
Not the soul, based on the soul.
Yes, not only does it belong to you, but once you are fully manifest,
Yes, sir.
you are omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. You share all of the attributes of Ishvara or Ishwari, except the ability to create and destroy. You can participate in the sustaining and protection, which is what the teachers do.
That's what I'm trying to understand. So I can say that I should be at that point of time, I should be embracing not just myself, embracing this world, everything that's in this world, everything that's in this entire universe.
That's what
I should be able to embrace.
That's what Sri Ramakrishna says. Let me read what he says. The most advanced devotees say that he himself has become all this, the 24 cosmic principles, the universe, and all living beings. The devotee wants to eat sugar, not to become sugar. And so yes. And ultimately, as I said, if you want to understand this in more detail, read the last few pages of Swami Vivekananda's Raja Yoga, what it means to finally disappear from this, even this enjoyment phase. As it says in the Devi Mahatmyam, Mother gives both enjoyment and liberation. Our enjoyment is perfectly appropriate as long as we can do it without attachment, because the nature of the universe is to be constantly changing. So we don't become attached to how it is at this moment or the next moment or some moment in the past. We simply enjoy it as it is this moment. So you're right. You're absolutely right. You become all this You enjoy all this, and you are, again, as Vivekananda explains in detail at the end of Raja Yoga, you become omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. Again, this is the final limitation.
And so this per se is the passion of Ramakrishna.
Yes.
This is the passion of Jesus Christ. This is the passion of Gautam Buddha. This is what you have to start feel. You got to start feeling that you can do this. You can embrace everything.
Yes. And
no matter how good, bad, ugly it is.
Exactly. 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 And
that
the
is
way
Bhakti.
the way to do it, as suggested by the Bhakta's path, is through mantra. Mantra manifests the divinity within you. It invites that manifestation. To put it in technical terms, it invites the Kundalini to awaken and rise through the spiritual centers. And as that happens, it transforms them from our gross material experience of them to a spiritual experience of them. And when it reaches the heart center, something truly remarkable happens. When the Kundalini reaches the heart center, something truly remarkable happens. Your entire self-identification changes. Not in an instant, though it starts with an instant, but then over time, as you repeat the experience of having the Kundalini at the heart center, you understand, I am not this body, as Bhagirath pointed out, this body is not mine. This body is a castle, a 7-storied castle, as Thomas Merton put it, or it is a gate, a city of 9 gates, as Sri Ramakrishna remarked and is remarked elsewhere. But it is a vehicle.
It is a temple.
A
church,
temple,
whatever you want to call it.
However you choose to think about it. So it's something that is in our care, in the care of the Atman, and exists for its purposes. Beautiful. Thank you for those comments, and thank you for taking us in that direction. Exactly.
Thank you.
All right, I'll read this last from Swami Vivekananda, because in a sense, it is the last word. From the highest God to the worm and beyond, to the atoms in the stars, everywhere the same God loves all. Friend, lay your mind, soul, and body at their feet. He is in front of you right now in the different forms he's taken. If you turn away from them, where will you find him? The first to love all beings without thinking worships God. And again, you can find this full letter in Swami Vivekananda's complete works. This is from Swami Vivekananda's letter to a friend. And it is as powerful a statement as can be found about the Bhakta's attitude. I'll read it again. From the highest God to the worm and beyond, to the atoms in the stars, everywhere the same God loves all. Friend, lay your mind, soul, and body at their feet. He is in front of you right now in the different forms he's taken. If you turn away from them, where will you find him? The first to love all beings without thinking worships God. What does he mean by not thinking? No calculation, no doubt, just first a working faith, and then moving toward from that working faith through your spiritual practice, turning again and again to these thoughts and those that underlie them, and using the mantra to do that invitation to manifest the divinity within. You go from a working faith to first a true faith, and then beyond that to Shraddha, which is a combination of faith, courage, determination, and strength that allows you to withstand anything that the world offers. So we start with a working faith, and the yearning that Catherine wrote about, that you can find in American Vedantist number 77. This yearning to experience the divine and in its perfection and its love and its joy. So the first, to love all beings without thinking, worships God. Anything to say in response to Swami Vivekananda?
Quick question, brother, about this. So if you are, so my only concern is if you are out there loving everything, embracing everything that the world has got to offer, how do you not get attached to Maya?
As I said, you can embrace Maya without attachment as long as you understand, and this is the foundation of the Buddha's teachings. As someone was complaining to him about something in his past, the Buddha just chuckled and said, "You are not the person, you are not the man you were a moment ago. What are you thinking about the past for? You are not the person that you were a moment ago. The nature of universe, the nature of Maya is change." So if we, and again, it's not an intellectual decision. I won't. It comes from experience. It comes from being in that space that is created by spiritual practice. Sitting on the cushion is metaphorically speaking, however you sit, doing your mantra, your mindfulness meditation, your watching your breath, whichever vipassana, whatever it is, you get into that space where you notice, oh my God, this is constantly changing. The thoughts, the world around me, it's constantly changing. If I try and stay attached to that, I'm missing the moment. If I miss the moment, then there's no joy. There's suffering because I'm looking backwards or I'm projecting myself forward. So I'm out of this moment. So as it says in the Devi Mahatmyam, Durga will carry us by taking the name of Durga, by taking the name of Om, by taking, not the name, by taking Om. Durga will carry us across the ocean of worldly existence, devoid of attachments. And so it comes through spiritual practice. It's not an intellectual exercise. We cannot do it. Thanks for bringing that up. That is exactly it. If we take the Bhakta's attitude, we're constantly eating the sugar, but the sugar keeps changing. It's still sweet, but it's a different sweet. It's a different sweet. This day it's that. That. And along with it comes suffering. As Sri Ramakrishna said, The taxes we pay for embodiment is the suffering of illness, of bodily difficulties. So all of that will be there. He says that's the taxes we pay for embodiment. But without embodiment, there's no experience.
Thank you, brother.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank all of you for your participation. Anything more before
Brother
this?
Shankara, can you hear me?
Yes, I could. I'm delighted to hear you.
All right. As an offshoot of the thought that you just read, let me come down to this earth. As a priest conducting so many weddings, I see the couple as a premarital counseling. And many times they say, oh, we are so happy right now. I hope he does not change. There you go. Your clap is very, very appropriate and to the point, because you cannot even expect somebody to stay the same. But instead of changing, I use the word remodeling.
That's
Universe
good.
is not changing, it's remodeling. And when you go from one phase to another phase, it's not that you do not like your partner, but you like in a very different way.
Yes.
You see, that is the very process of the universe. This is the reason why the world in which I was living as a child, the world in which I was living as a young man in India, the world in which I was living as a practicing physician, and the world in which I'm living now as a retired physician is the same world. So I cannot say the world has changed, but it is remodeling. It is my business to remodel accordingly.
Yes.
That is the law of kinetics.
And if we allow ourselves to, as Swami Vivekananda said, the microcosm will reflect the macrocosm and vice versa.
Precisely.
It's that vice versa that is so hard for us to understand.
Yes.
The universe reflects us. And to understand this put into words, I highly recommend that book, Love Poems from God. Because these saints, these 12 saints, put it into words, what it means to become that and have that as their moment-to-moment experience. Thank you, Bhagirath. Exactly. And, over the years, I've done some marriage counseling myself. And people come to me and they say, oh, we're having such a terrible time right now. Usually one of the two partners will come and say, we're having such a terrible time right now. We're thinking of separating or divorcing or whatnot. And I say, look, just see if you can be patient and just try and see what the other person is experiencing. Now, don't just look at yourself. Try and see what the other person is experiencing and see what it is in them. Remember the gold that drew you to them, which of course Yajnavalkya says is the self. It's not the personality. So, but that takes different forms in our minds and in our hearts. And I say, if you manage to live through this, you will be more successful as a married couple because you will see more in the other person. You will see their strength, their willingness, their determination, and their ability to, as you say, I love the word you use, remodel themselves and work to remodel the relationship. This is and so over decades, people become more and more successful in their marriages as they survive each challenge or crisis. Thank you, Bhagirath. Your experience means a lot to us. Anything else? Anything else from anyone? This has
Yes,
been lovely.
Brother
This is
Shankara.
exactly what I hoped would happen as we discussed this, that we share with one another who we are and how this makes us live and be.
Yes, Brother Shankara.
Yes, Aaron.
I really enjoyed studying a bit this morning about the characteristics of the age of Kali Yuga, because it puts things into very good perspective of why people behave the way they do in this age.
Yes. And there's going to be shortly, there will be an invitation go out from American Vedantist to send in contributions for American Vedantist number 78. One of the things that will be published in that is the 15 predictions, 15 prophecies that accompany this. This is the last thing that is said, separate from the prophecies. This last is where we started this morning from the Srimad Bhagavatam, because of what the invitation will be for AV 78 is to send us your personal experiences of how you've experienced this terrible, this dreadful transformation that we're going through, and how it represents what you see reflected of these 15 prophecies about the end of the Kali Yuga. And there is a wonderful personal experience that we'll use as an example. I have someone that I used to take care of when he was just a boy, when I was 19 and he was 12. His name is Harry Moss. He lives in San Francisco now. And he sent us his personal experience of those days that they had. I think the date was September 9th, when there was no sun in the middle of the day in San Francisco. The smoke was so dense that it was, the title of his little piece is called Darkness at Noon, and he accompanies it with photographs. So this is the American Vedanta 78 will come out this winter, and it will be primarily composed of people's personal experiences of this time we're going through. So, once again, thank you all for participating. Thank you all for being part of this. This is what it means to study the art of spirituality together. And it really lifts us all up to hear from those of you who share, and even those of you who don't share. As Swami Prabhupada said, we're all connected. Your thoughts, whether you said anything actively or not, your thoughts, your feelings are felt at some level by all of us. So thank you for being who you are. Thank you for being part of this. And so we'll close with this. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya. Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Mrityor Ma Amrutangamaya. Abir Moiti. O dearly beloved Lord, lead us from thy manifest reality to thy absolute and eternal reality. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through with thy everlasting shining presence. Oh. Oh. Amen. 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 Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all joyous and suffering beings everywhere. Let this be the truth. So, can't say it to you in the parking lot as I love to do, but we'll say it this way. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga, Durga, Durga. Go in Mother's loving and protective embrace. So until those of you who join us tomorrow night for the Love Poems from God reading and discussion group, and you don't have to have a copy of the text. It's nice if you do, but you don't have to have a copy of the text because we read the poems out loud. And we're just moving slowly through the book. Much, much joy, much, much, much to lift us up. This is the testimony of 12 absolutely certifiable saints. And the thing about saints is they don't stop existing when they leave the body. As Hafiz says, I'll reach out across a millennium to you. You may lean your head against the shoulder of my words. So those of you who wish to join us, Monday evening, 8 o'clock, the link is on the website and on the Facebook page and in the newsletter. Then, of course, on Tuesday night, we study Holy Mother's life, her divine play as related to us by Swami Chaitananda. Then on Wednesday evening, we study Bhagavad Gita. We're just about to the end. We're just about to take up chapter 17. And then, of course, on Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock, those two Tuesday and Wednesday classes are at 8 o'clock, available on Zoom. And then on Saturday morning, we read and discuss Swami Prabhavananda's talks as published in Realizing God, the book Realizing God. It's like sitting at the Swami's knee, it really is. And then, of course, on Sunday morning, next Sunday morning, because it's Yom Kippur is the next day, the Jewish New Year, we will talk about one of the great Jewish saints, Baal Shem Tov. And because it's the month for the study of Bhakti Yoga, we'll talk about Baal Shem Tov and the practice of love, which is his teachings. You'll recognize them. So, he was a Middle Ages, medieval Russian Jewish saint, founder of the Hasidic movement. It's changed a lot since he founded it, but he's founder of the Hasidim. It's no longer the movement that he formed any more than Protestant Christianity is what Jesus' ministry was. So until next time we meet, thank you for being here. And this is such a joy to have this participation. Until next time.
Thank you, Brother Shankara.
Thank you, dears.
Live long and prosper.
Thank you, dear.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I love that. Spock lives. Live long and prosper. Bye-bye.